Hello, and welcome to another episode of So Here's the Thing. I am your host, Marquis Fair, and I am thrilled, excited, titillated, aroused. I don't know if aroused is the right word.
We'll allow it. We'll allow it.
To welcome my guests for the evening, Lily Kerrigan and Matthew Marcus, are my two dear friends. And actually, as I say, dear friends, they are people that I'm just now getting to know.
Right.
So
already dear friends.
Yeah,
That's how charming we are.
Listen,
Yes.
Immediately dear friends. We've done one show together.
I wasn't
And
even
Lily
there.
just
I
met
met you today.
You
I
did?
feel.
Listen.
Why shouldn't we be dear friends?
Why shouldn't we be? And by the time this is over, we are certainly going to be dear friends. So introduce yourselves, etc. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, and we'll get into it.
I'm Lily Kerrigan. I am a comedian and content creator and actor, and I tour with Matthew an hour-long two-person comedy special of the two of us telling stories about non-monogamy and about kink and about our respective mothers who, bring a lot of content to the party as well.
Yeah, I have a question. One more question, and I know you all don't know me in this way, but I'm all over the place. So, one of the things that I heard in the second go round was you're a content creator, and please clarify for our viewers, listeners, what content creation means, because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
What content?
Oh.
What flavor of content?
Listen, people say content creation,
And they can mean anything.
and then you said kink. So listen.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
good. You know what?
Good point.
Good job watching
Good
that.
point. Yes,
Good job
thank
looking
you.
out.
Don't want people to
Let's-
go try to find an OnlyFans that doesn't exist.
If it does exist, listen.
Then I should be
Then we
promoting
should
it.
plug it.
Listen, let's
Then,
yes.
you can find me on YouTube or Instagram as Lily Kerrigan Presents. I'm on TikTok as Lily Kerrigan, and I talk about non-monogamy and whatever dumb thing pops into my
In
head.
an educational context.
Yes, in an educational
non-monogamy and do you do any BDSM education online?
context. No, but I could start.
Yeah, Lily has fantastic in-person classes.
I do.
So far, no OnlyFans.
Okay.
I might beat you to it.
That's true. I think that's really what the people want. I don't think people need this.
Oh no.
These
They
are my
want
dear
you.
friends. These are my dear. We are getting to know each other intimately.
Just
Just
met.
All right. So Matt, on to you.
Oh, I'm Lily's boyfriend.
Oh, that's it. That's all you got.
No, I'm also an actor, comic, and Lily basically said, "Hey, I do stand-up comedy. You should too." And following the long tradition of mediocre men riding the coattails of the harder working women who came before them, that's how I got into stand-up comedy. And I've just been loving the ride.
Yes, this started because I was doing my hour, and I thought it was fun to have a Q&A section where the audience could ask questions, because I talk a lot about polyamory and about going to the dungeon, and people want to know. They have follow-up questions. They ask, about the characters that they've heard about in the stories, and they were always curious about Matt, because I talk a lot about how much his mom hates me. And they would want him to come out and confirm she does indeed not enjoy me. Not a fan. But
So you'd wave me over.
I would wave you over. And our producer started complaining anytime that Matt didn't get to come up and do some material. Our producer would be like, I really like when Matt told a story about New Year's Eve. It kind of made me think you guys should do that all the time. So I was like, okay, Matt could write like a full hour. And for a while we were touring with him doing a full hour and then an intermission and then my full hour. So Matt never had to like grind it out into clubs. He never had to like
grind it up.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like you're working the corner.
You are doing time.
You're literally sometimes out there on the street begging people to
for
come
5 minutes.
Yes.
Do not laugh at your jokes.
Yes.
I didn't have to do any of that. I just got to open for a star.
Got to go straight to doing an hour.
Yeah.
So, a lot has gone into this introduction, and I want to sort of frame
what is this?
What we're going to be talking about, right? So, one of the working titles and possibly probable titles of this podcast is going to be So Here's the Thing. This is not what you think it is, right? This is the first time that I have done a podcast that has been of a specifically what I would consider adult nature. Most of my podcasts have been sometimes serious in tone. I've talked with ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, ex-Mormons.
That's pretty adult.
Yeah.
Well, depending on but this is a different kind of adult,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So it looks like we're in the daytime right now, and we are, but this is nighttime conversation. Although, to be fair, I actually listen. Adult content is any time of day.
That's
People have this idea that it's like, oh, it should be done in the shadows in the night. Listen,
No.
people should be having sex and sexual conversations and sex content from morning, noon, and night.
Absolutely.
So what were you gonna say?
I've taught classes. I've taught like adult sex education classes at 10 in the morning.
There you go.
And people are horny then. People are horny at 10 a.m.
Listen.
at 10 p.m. Anytime.
Listen, I was gonna say something about myself, but my listeners aren't ready for it. So I have a couple things before we get into before we sort of go down into it. First, so here's the thing for my viewers, listeners who are just now joining. So here's the thing: started out and continues to be a podcast about me getting to talk to people from different backgrounds and whose current life experiences or backgrounds are very different from my own. And it's a little bit of, so you think you know somebody, right? So a little bit of like, hey, I did a show with somebody, but listen, I don't have a clue about.
Yeah, me being in the kink scene did not come up during rehearsals.
It did not, sadly enough.
That wasn't the tone for it. It was a series of sketches written by children.
By children.
Yeah.
So that's not the energy you bring to that show.
And not teenagers, like children.
Yeah, like children.
Yeah.
And so I didn't mention offhand, oh, I'm going to the dungeon after this. Do you want to check it out?
Sadly enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So both from my listeners and viewers, they have not experienced me in this way, so I'm very excited about that. But also, you have not experienced me in this way, and I'm very excited.
I don't even know what your deal is.
Well, we'll see. So
I'm assuming monogamous, but I don't.
Maybe we should be interviewing you.
So we're gonna get all the way into it. A couple things. For my viewers and listeners, listeners, and those of you who can't, those of my viewers who can see you, how old are you guys?
I am about to turn 33.
33.
I'm about to just turn 39.
39. Okay, so 33 and 39. I asked that because I have many people who are both in the non-monogamy scene and the kink scene, right? And
which don't always overlap. We happen to be both, but you can be vanilla and non-monogamous, or monogamous and kinky.
But the Venn diagram it's heavy overlap.
Yeah.
Right.
So sorry.
Yeah.
And so as we get into this conversation, it's important to the experience of a 30-some-odd person who is in the scene, these scenes, both scenes, and the other scenes that we have not yet mentioned, are very different from a person who is 18 or a person who is 65, who has been in this for some time. My second question is, how long have you guys been together?
For 9 years, we've been together. And I've been involved in the scene kind of off and on since I was a teenager. And the kink scene especially, and also the non-monogamous scene, often do kind of skew older. And I think that used to be even more true. I think often people weren't discovering that part of themselves maybe until later in life, or they didn't feel like they had permission to explore it. And I think now people are often joining the scene younger. There's just more of an awareness of different types of relationship structures. And so people are deciding earlier on, like, oh, maybe monogamy is not for me. Maybe there's something else I'd like to try. And I think there are a couple of things, like often, if your like local scene is big enough, they'll often have like meetups that are specifically for young people, and also specifically for older people. In Atlanta, there's the Saggy Tits and Balls Club, which is for like, I think 50 and up. And then there's also whippersnappers, which is for like 18 to 35.
Oh.
So that can be a really great space if you're new and you're worried that you're not going to find people like you. Sometimes finding other people in your age demographic by going to like that specific type of munch is what we call like a platonic gathering of kinky people.
It's called a munch.
It's called a munch if it's at a restaurant, and it's called
Why is it called a munch?
Because
you're eating.
You get a little notch to eat.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's called a
Okay.
slosh if you're at a bar.
Ah.
You get sloshed.
You get a little
Okay.
slosh.
So a couple things. You guys have been together 9 years.
Yeah.
Define together. Second thought
Great question.
is, for my listeners and viewers who have no idea, right? There's an internet out there, but what you define as non-monogamy may be different.
Everybody does it differently.
So I want to make sure that as we sort of toss around these terms,
Right. What are we doing?
What are you doing? So, been together 9 years. Define together.
It's changed over time.
Yeah.
When we first got together, we were actively not looking to get into a romantic relationship.
Okay.
Right? We specifically said,
And you were 30
I was-
at the time.
yeah,
30.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
and I was a sweet vanilla child. Never been to a dungeon.
Not sweet vanilla.
Yeah. I
Vanilla meaning not kinky.
Yes,
For anyone who
okay.
doesn't know.
just a baby.
Yeah.
Uh, never been to a dungeon, didn't really know they existed. Never thought of practicing BDSM. Never thought that anything other than monogamy was an option. And then when I met Lily, we were both in a place where we were not looking for romantic entanglements, but we were sort of enjoying the possibility of being friends with benefits.
Mm.
So we started very casually, but even then, from the very, very beginning, Lily let me knew that she did not do monogamy.
Mm.
Monogamy was never a possibility. So no matter what trajectory our relationship took, you just, let me know the score from the very beginning.
Define very beginning.
Before we had sex for the first time,
Which was
would have been, like, are you asking like when?
so. I'll say it this way: I had sex with my husband on the first date.
Oh, yes.
That said, we didn't have the conversation about
Yeah.
anything until. Well,
So-
that's what,
We were sort
that's
of
what-
we were passing ships for a while before we finally decided that we'd start hooking up.
Right. We had been in a couple of shows together, and I had always thought that Matt was very attractive, and Matt had always thought, do I know that girl? I think I know that girl. And then we were in a show where Matt had just gotten out of an 8-year-long relationship, and I actually had to flee the relationship that I was in during the rehearsal process. It was a very dramatic experience.
And he enforced monogamy. You never want to be monogamous with him either.
Yes, he said that if I would be monogamous with him, he would stop drinking.
Oh.
And
Listen.
right.
What?
And when I was 22, I thought that was my job. I
Oh,
thought it was
wow.
my job to
Oh.
stop alcoholics
God.
from drinking.
Say hi,
Oh,
Zephyr.
Zephyr wants to come and help.
Say hi.
Zephyr was like, "Oh, sweet child,
Right.
how are you doing?"
Zephyr's like, it's time to go to Al-Anon, Lily. And I did. Al-Anon was really, really healing for me. To realize that was not my job
Not
to
your
stop him from drinking.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to flee that relationship after about 2 years. And I told that relationship when it first started, like, I don't want to be monogamous. But I kind of let myself get pulled into it. And so when I left, I was even more adamant with people, that I didn't want to be monogamous. And I also set a little goal for myself as part of my healing journey to sleep with 10% of the cast.
Okay.
Yeah, there were 30 people plus me. So for anyone doing math at home, that's 3 people.
Okay.
And
How long were you on the show?
I think it was like a 2 months from like beginning of rehearsal to end of last performance. Does that sound
Some
about right?
might say that's ambitious. Not me personally. I've done it. Listen,
It's good to have a goal, though.
Right.
Keeps you motivated.
And I did it. I met my goal.
Oh wow.
So,
Good for you.
yes, and
Was it worth it?
absolutely, Matt was number 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 3.
And here we are.
Yes.
Right. And what I love about our origin story is like there is a narrative that is kind of slut shamey where it's like, if you're looking for love, don't just sleep around because you won't find love unless you're looking for love, unless you're intentional about that.
Right.
we were just sleeping around.
Yeah.
And we found love. We weren't even looking for it, and it found us. So, and I know people who are looking for love.
Hopeless place.
Yeah, yes. Yes. Bars don't lie.
Yeah.
And I know people who have only looked for love and haven't found it. So I'd say just do what makes you happy. And if that's sleeping around with your cast, because Lord knows I was, severely depressed at the time. So I was just trying to fuck the sad away. Right?
As one does.
As one does.
It works.
So, a couple questions.
Yeah.
Couple questions for Lily and for Matt. I'm going to start with Matt first. So far, during in the however long we've been discussing and having a podcast with my dear friends,
Our dear friends.
Your friends.
I would die for you.
I have a very strong sense that Lily from a fairly early age of relationship sense that she was fairly well set on non-monogamy, and I'm gonna ask her as we come back to you why that is, right? Some people, most people, many American people, my sense of it is that you start out with monogamy as the sort of baseline, right? So we'll come into that. But for you, you came to it a little bit, as I understand it, later.
Yeah.
So what was it for you that was like? Was it? It sounds like Lily was the first, and so yes, and so tell me about what was so what's the word that I'm looking for? Either convincing or what's the thing that you identified with within the non-monogamy community? You'd be Lily's got the thing that I've been looking for this whole. You understand what I'm saying? Like, what was it?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
And then you.
so the non-monogamy was price of admission, which I think has to be said. I would like to pretend that I had this epiphany that I realized in my heart that I had been, just socialized monogamous, but in my heart I was always non-monogamous. And then I realized that when you introduce the possibility, but really I just wanted to sleep with Lily.
Listen.
Because I think no one could pray. So
Well, I'm a gay man, but she's a lovely sister, so there is that.
so it was price of admission, and like a lot of the stuff Lily was laying on me. I was like, wow, this is a lot. But I want to play it cool. Like, oh, this, yeah. Cause Lily was like, I don't do monogamy and I don't have vanilla sex. So get on my level or out of my face. So it's like, okay, you have to get okay with a lot of stuff really quickly. But when given a challenge, I like to think that I can rise to the occasion. So I didn't know a lot about either at first, but I didn't want to be so afraid of something that I wasn't going to try it. And, a lot of being non-monogamous at the beginning, since we were casual, like we weren't starting a, there we go.
The outline.
Oh no.
Throwing the outline away.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Basically, we're already off topic. Keep going.
We weren't starting a romantic attachment bond. So I was like, okay, I wouldn't expect Lily not to sleep with other people. And hey, man, I can enjoy the freedom of flirting with other people and not feeling bad like I was doing something wrong that was like betraying Lily's trust. So I was very interested in the freedom of it. The idea of I don't need to, I have a lot of issues with guilt because I've made a lot of mistakes and I still do sometimes, obviously.
No, you're perfect.
Oh, thank you. But like,
No, keep going.
in my past relationships, I've been a bad partner. And removing one rule in terms of what you're not allowed to do, there was something very liberating about that. So yeah, maybe there was some things that did click for me. I certainly didn't have what a lot of people who are so strongly socialized and monogamous, they have a revulsion to the idea. Like you're going to be with other people that makes you dirty somehow.
Right.
I definitely didn't have that, which should, I guess, say something.
So that maybe that was the I wouldn't say the in, but the in.
Yeah, that I didn't think less of Lily for being non-monogamous.
Right.
Even if I didn't really have an idea of what it was, about what it meant, the idea that you could be in a romantic relationship and still be okay with it, that's something that, like, I didn't know going in was going to be a thing that I would have to be okay with. And I sort of like grew in tempo with our relationship. As we became more serious, I had to sort of like check in with myself along the way. Like, is this still something I want to do? And the answer, like, I had to interrogate it, but ultimately was yes. So I never thought less of Lily. And with the BDSM stuff, I was scared, but also wanted to try. And there was also a lot of things that I always thought had to be something that I was ashamed of. And that it's okay to have these fantasies, but really it's not okay. Like, you should feel a little bad that you have them, and certainly never bring them into a relationship. And Lily made that okay too. So suddenly I had all these things that I wasn't bound to, and there was a laying down of a lot of shame and baggage that I didn't really fully understand at first, but was benefiting from, and I think helped us a lot in that first year.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like a year for you to sort of come to some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Equilibrium, yes, like a
because I didn't really know what it was.
Right.
And then I think our relationship has like a lot of different phases, and I think that first year was me, because I agreed to it, really not really knowing what it was, but I just wanted to be with you. And then I'd say by the end of the first year, I finally got it, like what it was, and we still had like issues after that. But now I was opting into something that I understood a little bit more.
You, Lily, not you, Lily.
Lily. So
thank you, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So I was always a bit of an odd duck. I started college when I was 12, which I think is in some ways where this story begins, because it meant that I was sort of forming a lot of my ideas about dating and sexuality in an environment where there were a lot of other kind of odd, off the beaten path teenagers.
And where was this?
I was at Mary Baldwin, which at the time was a women's college. It's co-ed now. But I was in...
I'm sorry.
It's in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's in Stanton, Virginia. And it was a really great environment for a bunch of little weirdos. I was part of a program called Program for the Exceptionally Gifted. We called it PEG because that's a super pretentious name, so we try to shorten it.
PEG.
I know. We all thought that was very funny.
And now here we are.
PEG. So it was a place that we all were kind of... Let me pause so that I can actually give you a clean take.
Sure.
And I think because I started dating in a sort of more alternative environment, there were just a lot more different ideas about what a relationship could be and what it could look like and why you might make one relationship choice or another. And so I was just exposed to a lot more ideas, I think, than the average teenager. And I just sort of, at the time, I was kind of logically thinking like, oh, well, non-monogamy makes sense in some ways, but like, I think monogamy could work too. And so for quite a while, I was doing different relationship structures based on what the other person wanted, basically. Be like, well, I am actually very good at monogamy because I have a really high tolerance for repetition. I eat basically the same food every day. I am a minimalist. I don't like a lot of new things in my environment. So it's actually very easy for me to be monogamous. I just don't think it's, for me, the most like logical choice. Some people it really, really works for and it's awesome. I had multiple monogamous relationships break down because the other person would become attracted to somebody else and they couldn't handle the guilt of that. I would be cool about it. I'd be like, okay, yeah, that happens. That's normal. Do you want to talk about it? Like, does this mean you want to open our relationship, or is this just a thought you want to share with me? But they'd be melting down,
Right.
and they'd be having a guilt spiral. And I got to a point where I really wanted to be non-monogamous, and then I got sort of sucked into a monogamy vortex. Oops, my bad. And then I reemerged even more committed to being non-monogamous. But even then, it took a long time to get from I believe this is a good idea and I want to do it versus I actually have the skills necessary to make a non-monogamous relationship flourish.
Yeah, we both made so many mistakes.
So many mistakes. And we also kind of did things in kind of backward in some ways where like first we started having sex. Then 3 weeks later, we started saying "I love you," but casually. We were still casually dating, but we were just also saying "I love you."
And you told me specifically that the "I love yous" didn't count because you were having an orgasm,
That's
and you could not be held
listen,
accountable.
No, I agree with
no.
her.
See, yeah,
Yes.
right. You can't be.
Listen, do you know how many times I have said listen?
It's chemicals, and your brain is telling yourself a lot of stuff.
You
Listen,
can't hold.
I love my husband. I love you. I actually do love you, non-orgasmically. Just so
Right.
you know.
Right, with no sexual
I can
energy at all.
confirm no orgasm is happening right now.
It's a dry, sterile environment.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, that is correct. Anyway.
But for anyone who does think that they love someone for the first time during an orgasm, give it 15 minutes, have a sandwich,
Yeah.
and just check in because it could have just been the chemicals.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So, there are a couple of things, train wreck thoughts that I'm trying to make sure that I organize. One, there's the non-monogamy / polyamory discussion, right?
Yeah.
So we have been sort of intermingling a lot of them, and for people who are not a part of this community, for the cisgender heterosexual people out there who are out there just monogamous, all of this is like it's all intertangled, and for a lot of people, because I'm gay, I am non-monogamous. Because I am, because I'm bisexual, I am in an open relationship. It's all interwoven for people who are, vanilla. And so I as we discuss, I want to make sure that, as you said earlier, non-monogamy, BDSM they are two separate communities. There are often overlaps, but it's not
Right.
it's not all the same. I'm gay doesn't mean I'm into BDSM. It's just it's all very sort of different and separate. So that's one thing I wanted to make sure that I express, but also wanted to make sure that I sort of delineate as we go forward. 2, questions are for you, and then I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Matt. Both of you have discussed or sort of pretty much said plainly that you've made a lot of mistakes. I'm going to say, I'm going to ask both of you, what was the biggest mistake that you made in your 9 years together in the non-monogamy realm, and then the biggest mistake that you've made in the BDSM realm? I'm going to start with you. So, I know it's interviewee, but it's very interesting.
I'm excited. Okay, so the biggest mistake that I've made in our relationship regarding non-monogamy is because I am a bit of a people pleaser. It's very hard for me to say, like, no, I'm not okay with that. And so Matt would sometimes phrase questions as like, hey, is it okay if I do this with my other partner? And I would be like, well, I can't say no. I don't want to say no to people. I don't want you to be sad that I've said no. I don't want her to be mad at me that I've said no. And something that we learned to do is instead of framing it as a binary, like yes or no, framing it as what we say is how much does that apple cost?
Okay.
And
say more.
So I came up with this metaphor that I was like, I think sometimes you've thought that I was selling you like a $5 apple, and I was selling you a $500 apple, and you didn't understand that there was no decimal.
Right. Money being like emotional labor.
Yes.
Right? Because sometimes people say, like, yes, you can do that, but I might need some TLC. I might need some reassurance that you doing this thing doesn't mean that our relationship is in danger.
Yes, and I would say, like, yes, you can do that, and I'm gonna need some TLC around it, but I would not adequately communicate to you how much TLC.
And sometimes it was prohibitively immense.
Sometimes it was like
like what? Like, okay, so you can go do that,
but it will devastate me.
I will be orgasms tonight. Okay,
I will be broken inside.
7 would not be enough. No. No. This would be like, there would be things where I'd be like upset about something for like 6 months. Like way outside what emotional work you like thought was worth doing that activity. And so I would think like, well, I've adequately communicated, like I'm really upset, and now Matt's not taking care of me the way that I thought he would. And so I started saying like, well, that's a $500 apple. So do you want to buy a $500 apple? And Matt would be like, no, I don't. And so that's something, it's a shorthand now that we have with each other, is how much does that apple cost?
Question about that. How much, how do I say this? If the apple costs $500, how much does he have? How much money does he have?
Well, that's up to me, right?
I mean, I mean, you might say yes, that apple costs $500, but you might say, well, listen, I've got $1 million in the bank, so if I'm gonna,
Right. Yeah. And that would be okay with me. Like, if I say an apple is $500 and that means I'm going to be devastated for 6 months, but you are going to be like fully committed to helping me through it, and you're going to pay for us to see a couples therapist, and we're going to like work through the whole thing together, then like, okay.
But the scale of the $500 matters. For him, $500, if he already has $1 million, is nothing.
That's true.
But for you saying this is $500, like
it's effectively a way to say no that's not saying no. That's helpful for both of us, right?
What's the scale though? Like, is it $1,000? Is the upper limit, or like?
So the scale that we use is $5. Is reason. It's like pricey. It's pricey for an apple. But if it were like if you bought an apple, I mean, I don't know how bad inflation is when you guys are watching this.
Apples would cost $5. Not one, but you know.
Yeah.
I've bought $5 apples.
Oh my gosh.
And I meant metaphorically. And have provided the emotional care of $5. That's something I feel like I can do as a partner.
I actually really like that.
Yeah.
How much does an apple cost?
And what we'll say, like, what you've said feels like $5 to you is like an evening of like emotional presence and care that is on par with if I just had a tough day. That it's something that is going to be like a thing that we talk about for an evening.
That's $5.
That's $5.
Okay. And sometimes like a new partner might be $5. Not all new partners, but like, but if I have an established partner that like I've been seeing for years, I don't even ask anymore because I know that apple's free. Yeah. And a lot of times, the first time an apple becomes free is a bit of a conversation. I'll be like, oh, can I go see Rena? And Lily will be like, that's a free apple.
Right.
I'll ask how much it costs, and it's nothing. And I'll be like, oh, it's a free apple now. The prices have come down.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Right. This is a farmer's market where you sometimes get a little bonus. Okay. So that's what we'll say, because I struggle with saying no, and that's something that I'm working on. It's much easier to say, like, what would this look like? Yeah. And sometimes you've heard me say, like, oh, that apple is $20, and you're like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to me.
So, how do I say this? Without putting words in your mouth, as I hear it, it sounds like a mistake or a learning in the non-monogamy realm is establishing a emotional economy. Like a sense of how is this going to affect us emotionally as we move forward through all of these things,
and coming up with like a model to talk about it.
Right, exactly. And so before we go on to you, BDSM.
Okay.
Biggest mistake
I've ever made in our relationship.
Yeah. Well,
about BDSM.
Yes, we'll start.
Okay, we'll start here.
Ooh. If there have been any.
Maybe. I'm a perfect person, and I've made 0 mistakes, actually. I actually don't know if I have any mistakes.
I can think like
To think
broadly
of.
speaking.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Tell me what my mistakes are.
Oh.
Not for you. I think this can sort of be like an us
Okay.
answer.
Yeah.
I do want to say that if I have other partners out there is like, that son of a bitch, he's done this, and this wrong. I'm sorry. I probably did. I'm not a perfect person.
Listen,
And the fact that I'm being given
accountability. Yes, I love that.
the fact that I'm being given this platform, if that rubs you the wrong way, I get it. Whoops. But for us, we've had a pretty good track record. And I would say in BDSM, you're doing high stakes activities, right? Because it involves sensations that you have to, you acknowledge that they are stimulating, but at the same time, in extremes, they can be dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
So even as something as light as like spanking play,
right.
And as soon as you introduce like risk activities, then it's not just a question of if something ever goes wrong, but when.
Right.
If you play with someone long enough, there will be an accidental overstep. I don't know how to phrase it, but an accident, right? That does not mean that anyone acted in bad faith. It doesn't mean that there is a villain that needs to be punished. But it means that you have to acknowledge that, like, oh, I meant to hit you here and I missed. I hit you here. We were using language that I thought you would be into, and actually I really hurt your feelings. So when those things happen, do you have enough trust to talk about it and get past it and come back together? And we've definitely had scenes where one of us had to call red. Red is like the safe word that basically means a scene has to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And green means everything is great, and yellow means maybe pull back on the intensity a little bit. And like we've had scenes where we have called red, but that doesn't mean like, oh God, this is insurmountable, right? We just explain like, here's what happened, here's how we can repair. And a lot of times it doesn't even mean we're done with the scene.
Yeah.
A lot of times it means that we need to take a breath,
yeah,
and then get right back into it and have a great time. And I would say the ability to handle those moments really speaks a lot. The people who think that they're never going to mess up may not have the best way to handle when those moments inevitably happen. But once they happen and you can get past it, that feels pretty good.
Yes, I often say, like, I don't need to play with someone who's like never made a mistake before. To me, it's all about like, if you've made a mistake, how have you dealt with it and what have you learned? I will say this is not in our relationship, but I used to always get cocky about how long a flogger I could safely swing. And I would always think I could swing something longer than I actually could, or I knew that I can really only swing something as long as my arm. Other people have more skilled and put a lot of work into being able to control larger floggers. I know that I am not going to be the type of person who practices enough to be able to safely control a flogger that's longer than my arm. But I would still sometimes, like, if someone had a flogger they really liked and it was longer than my arm, I'd be like, oh, well, I'll just be careful and I'm sure it'll be okay this time. And then I would like end up wrapping them, or I would like sort of lose control of the spray of the flogger and it would go too wide. And so now I am really, really strict with myself about like, if it is longer than my arm, I either just say, no, I can't use that toy, or I'll choke up on it so that like I'm holding it like partway through the tassel so that I can just control the amount that I actually think I can safely control instead of losing control of a toy. So that's but I've never made that mistake with you. I was like, I think people should be honest about their mistakes, and
You were very brave. Yeah, you said a specific thing that you did wrong.
A specific thing. Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm scared.
So, I as a person who is not a part of the community, I am having both not part of the BDSM community. I am learning a lot and am also being sort of how do I say it? Like I feel like I have to catch up, right?
Yeah,
So
that's a lot.
So a couple things, right? One, we are going to run out of time. That's the very first thing. So
It doesn't have to have us back.
yes,
I don't know if
absolutely.
it's
Part
Well,
two.
you're moving, so there's that.
I'll come
But
You can zoom me in.
yeah,
I'll be on the screen.
Listen, I'm gonna have another. I was actually supposed to record another episode yesterday, but the person backed out. But yes, they're gonna zoom in. I say all that to say, I have a number of questions based on everything that you have just shared. At the very top of it is not a question, but an expression of gratitude for sharing yourselves in this way, sharing with you, with me, and with my viewers and listeners. Um, so a couple things. One, I'm trying to satisfy my own curiosity, but two, I'm also trying to make sure that I am making sure that I am responsive to the people who are like, why don't you ask them about the so and so, right? So I'm like, I got a bunch of thoughts in my head. One, BDSM in particular, because I think more people, my sense of it, and I could be completely wrong on this, is that there are more people who would be willing to admit to non-monogamy than be willing to admit to BDSM. That's my sense of it, but I don't know that, and that's straight, gay, whatever. It's all over the place. But would you agree with that?
I don't.
When I say would it be willing to admit to, both of those things are sometimes seen in certain communities as shameful or having some stigma around them. So yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on the particular community that you're a part of. And specifically with BDSM, I think people are more willing to admit to or talk about roles that they take on in a BDSM space if those roles are in some way congruous with how they feel is like socially appropriate to act. I think it's sometimes like easier for men to be
Say
open
that.
about that, like being dominant than being submissive, because that's
That's a really good point.
that's something that's like often encouraged for men. And so I think it can be easier for people to absorb, like, oh yeah, like men are supposed to be dominant and
Do you think
aggressive.
this is heterosexual, homosexual? Does it matter?
I think that a lot of this is informed by like straight cis culture,
Okay.
for sure.
There are people in the scene who are closeted about aspects of themselves in the scene.
Yes.
So like they're out to the kinky community,
Right.
but not fully.
Right. So that's what I'm very interested in, because I think that my viewers and my listeners and myself often think of, once you're in it, once you say I'm into BDSM, which for my listeners and for my people who are not familiar with this, it stands for bondage, domination, submission, sadism, and masochism. Look up all those terms. I want to get into the thing that I also want to get into is the the physical part of it, and then the actual like other parts of it, because BDSM is physical, right?
Yeah.
Like physical sensations, as you talked about, and then there's like emotional and mental things that come with submission, sadism and masochism and submission.
The
and
world is deep.
etc.
There's a lot. If I was going to give a metaphor, think about like Star Trek fandom.
Star Trek,
Right?
May or may not.
And I do that when playing.
Yes.
There's so much,
Yeah.
and it's broad enough and deep enough that you could just inhabit a particular sphere and live a whole lifetime and never touch the other end of it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
That's what BDSM is like.
And so for my listeners and for my viewers, and for people like me, how do I say this? I think that one of the most important things that I have learned and that I want to impart, and that I invite you to sort of reinforce, is that it is while there is always a potential for danger in the BDSM community, it's the same with any other community.
Yeah.
And I think the stigma is that these people are out here trying to like you know what I'm saying, like really hurt and harm and do permanent damage. That's not it at all. And so talk to me and talk to us a little bit about that, because that's super important as you talk about flogging and whatnot. Tell us.
Yeah. So yeah, I think people engage in BDSM often to explore any number of things. And a good way to describe it is kind of like being an actor on stage. Like, it can be really fun and exciting and gratifying to play a villain. It doesn't mean you really want to take over the world or blow anything up. It's just fun to play villains. Exactly. Playing in that fantasy space can be really fun and exciting and gratifying. And there are all kinds of ways that humans like to experience catharsis and like to experience intense emotion. I could also compare it to like being on a roller coaster. People love to like have that feeling of like, oh my gosh, this is so intense. Oh my gosh, what if I could die? This is crazy. And then coming back down to earth and having that like adrenaline release can be really, really wonderful. And some people are getting it by going on a roller coaster, and some people are getting it by going to the dungeon. Yeah. And those are both reasonable ways to cope with this human existence that sometimes gives us experiences that we don't know how to process. And I think BDSM can be a way of processing things that feel almost like too big for your daily life.
I would also add, if I may, and I'm not part of this community, I wouldn't say yet, but I mean, who the hell knows, right? My sense of it, from the people that I talk to, including you, is that it's probably more conversational and more interactive than what, as we describe it, vanilla sex. The vanilla people are not out here saying, are you okay with this?
Right.
Yeah, like,
yes.
Are we gonna go into this? This is, yes, they often, more often than not, don't have those specific consensual, like, does this
scripts
feel good?
And protocols.
Yes,
absolutely.
And protocols.
Yes.
And so for the BDSM community, to me, it's much safer, not more dangerous. It's safer because you are having these conversations if you're doing it right, and as I understand it, most of you do. Yes.
Absolutely. There's much more protocol around negotiating, right. And like even before kissing someone, you would say like, do you like to kiss? Not everybody does.
Not everybody else.
Vanilla people will just kind of usually just
Automatic.
go straight in for it. Right. In kink spaces, it's considered really rude to touch anyone beyond a handshake without explicitly asking. I brought a vanilla friend of mine to a kink event, and she said she'd never been touched so little in a bar, because she's used to when people are flirting with her that they're like coming in and touching and like putting a hand on her back, and kinksters generally don't do that. And so like that negotiation does give a certain amount of safety. I know Matt had a bit of reverse culture shock when you'd been dating kinky people for so long, and then you had a vanilla partner.
Oh yeah.
You got kind of thrown by how little she wanted to talk about the sex you were having.
Yes.
She would just be like, yeah, it's good.
So say more about that?
Well, because the vanilla world operates on vibes, right? Which I don't want to knock, but there's some significant drawbacks.
Yeah.
Because if I'm picking up signals and I think everything's groovy, but I'm wrong, that's devastating, right? What I like about the BDSM community is that everything is very strictly negotiated, especially with new partners. Lily and I have been playing for almost a decade now. We don't really need to hash out before we start playing what the scene is going to entail. A lot of times we'll do a quick vibe check-in, what tone, flavor do we want this play to have? Do we want it to be scary? Do we want it to be nurturing? And then it's just well, dealer's choice, let's see what happens. But when we first started playing together, it was here is a flogger. I'm going to demonstrate it on myself first, and then I'll give it to you. And this is Lily demonstrating on herself, because even though predominantly when we play, I'm the dom and Lily is the sub, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to hit someone with a flogger.
Yeah. So before we run out of time, there's a number of things that I want to make sure that I get to, as far as curiosities of the community. One, and I'm going to ask you just straight out point blank. So as I think of it, and that many people and my listeners and viewers often think that when they hear BDSM, here are some things that often come up. And you tell me whether or not you have either done them, seen them, engaged in them, liked them, disliked them, etc.
Okay, this is fun. It's rapid fire.
Yes, rapid fire, because I'm going to run out of time. None of you have... I gotta have you back. One, we talked about flogging. Flog.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have both been flogged and will flog someone else.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've been flogged, and I've
Okay.
definitely flogged others.
Define
And-
flogging for my listeners and viewers, because some people don't know. I know.
We should
I
have
don't
brought,
have-
we
I
should
don't-
have brought ours.
Well, next time.
So a flogger is a type of toy that has a handle, and then it has a bunch of like straps that come from that handle. They can be made of leather, they can be made of rubber, they can be made of like soft cloth material. So those are all going to give you different sensations.
Okay. One of the things in preparation that I talked about with a friend of mine before this podcast, last night actually, I said I'm going to be talking to them, and I want to make sure that I cover all the things. Rope play. Rope play?
Well, yeah, rope is so ubiquitous in the scene.
Yeah.
It's one of like the biggest things that people do.
Describe it first and then tell me. Yeah.
It's rope that you put around a person and sometimes even suspend them by. But neither of us are big rope players. But I feel, well, you don't enjoy being tied up, so I've never had like a reason.
What's the reason for rope play?
It feels good. Some people really like the sensation of being bound before binding.
One of my partners is a huge rope top and talks
so
about
there are rope bottoms and rope tops?
Yeah.
Yeah, the tire and the
who's
being tied.
Yes.
Okay.
And like he talks about like some of it is about like bondage and restraint and like the psychological aspects about that. Some of it is also about like the physical sensation of rope going onto your body, or even like the vibrating sensation that you get from like rope as it like runs across other ropes. Some people, it's about like they enjoy the experience of being suspended, which is partially a thing of like, oh, I'm off the ground. It's like being on a swing, but it's also very painful if you're being suspended by like very thin ropes. Some people like to use ropes that cause like itching sensations, so it can also be.
I was
going to
ask about the materials because you talked
all
about
sorts
the materials.
Yeah.
So, are there in rope play? I know you're not into it, you're particularly experienced with it. Are there? I assume that there are materials that are better or worse, but much like what was the thing that I just thought? The flogging. I think that most people, including myself, have a sense that people who are in the BDSM community have a higher tolerance for pain in general. So it is less, how do I say it? The very fact that you're being flogged in the first place is like enough for people to be like, it doesn't matter what material it is. It's, you're being flogged, right? Like, you know what I'm saying?
And if the first thing you think of is like, why would you ever?
Yes.
Then it's possible that you're just not a masochist, right? Which doesn't necessarily mean there isn't a corner of the kinky world that you know you might be able to find it in somewhere else. But yes, it's pain tolerance, but a lot of it is masochism, which is, do you feel a stimulation from pain that is pleasurable? And I think a lot of people that have have been socialized vanilla, but in their hearts are kinky, the intuitive answer is like, well, no, pain is not pleasurable. But just as a check-in, I would say, have you ever gotten a massage when a muscle is really tight and the masseuse really digs into it and it hurts and feels good too? If you understand that sensation, you understand masochism. So explore it. Give it a try. You don't know. And when you explore pain in a safe way with a trusted partner where you've negotiated the scene. And the flip side is, I didn't know when Lily asked me to hit her really hard. I didn't know if I would enjoy doing that.
Right. And I think that's the other side of it. I think that the one of the other things that I want to make sure that I impart, and I wanted to, I mean, we've covered a lot. Thank you. But there's a sense of, as I return to it, danger. There's a sense that like, oh, this Marquis is out here interviewing an abuser, you understand? But no. This is none of that. Like, it's not, and I think that a lot of people have this perception of the BDSM community, and as we talked about earlier, crossover into non-monogamy, that people are just out here beating the hell out of each other, screwing each other all over. You know, and it's so controlled and so what's the word that I'm looking for? Measured.
Yeah.
As I understand it.
Yeah, and like there are bad people everywhere, like you said earlier, and I've been very fortunate with Lily. I really trust her. I've also had partners that things went south.
Lily was your first non-monogamous partner.
Yes.
You were not his first. I'm sorry, he was not your first.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, had explored like kink and non-monogamy before me, but I was really lucky to have Lily as a Sherpa into these worlds, because not only is she safe, but then like her social sphere is generally safe too. Like the people she has vetted. I've definitely had partners that things did not go well. I've also made mistakes because I'm not perfect. And you just try to, be as responsible as you can. And everyone sort of acknowledges that we're doing risky activity. But those risks can be mitigated if you approach it thoughtfully. And what you said earlier about that, how could, you sort of like endorse this level of like violence. Tactile violence. What I always ask people to remember is we assume that certain touches are intrinsically good and other touches are intrinsically bad. For Lily, tell them how you feel about light touch.
It makes my skin crawl. I have like a sensory integration thing that makes like if someone touches me lightly, I feel tickled and I get like really upset. I'll scream.
So for like touching Lily lightly is a breach of her consent. Like, so when I grab Lily like really hard, it might look like, God, that guy must be an asshole. That's how Lily likes to be touched, and it would be actually more problematic if I started like doing that. That would be not nice.
How do you feel about light hugs? I know people who are like very like, and I'm like, if you're gonna hug me,
I'm like, get in there.
Get in there.
Full on embrace. Absolutely.
Put my soul back in my body. Yes.
So I have a couple questions before we wrap. For my listeners and for my viewers. One, we didn't really get into this quite, but if people are curious, right? If they want to get into BDSM, if they've always thought about it, right? What for you, Lily happened to be your in. Like, how do you find the community?
Lily will be your in.
Lily slept with, what is it, 30% of the cast?
10%.
10%. Three people, but 10% of the 30% cast.
No, but actually, no. Like, how does one, half of my listeners actually, incidentally, are not from the United States. Half of my listeners, which is weird. And these are people I'm like, I don't even know you. How are you watching? How are you seeing me? But like, how do you find community? How do you approach somebody and be like, can I pinch your nipple? Like, what? Right. Whatever. How do you do it? Yeah.
Well, Lily knows. Lily does a lot of education on this very topic.
I do. So, and this also comes back to the safety thing.
Yeah.
Because part of what makes our community safer is that it is a community. And you can go to people and ask for references. I've done that.
References.
Absolutely.
People get vetted. Yeah.
Yes. And sometimes different people have different philosophies on vetting. Some people will say like, hey, I'd like to play with you. Do you have references? Can I talk to, a couple other people that you've played with and see what they say about you? I personally often am even spicier. And if I want to play someone, I will look at other people in their social circle and I'll ask them, because it's just like job interviews, they're going to give you the reference that's good. So I always try to approach someone who I know in their social circle, and I'm like, what's your impression of this person? Do you think they're
safe? But what about discretion? I mean, so I assume in the BDSM community, people are there's some level of discretion that's if you asked about me and I happen to be in the community, I'd be like, listen, don't tell Lily that I'm into that. I mean, I don't know. Or is it all just sort of open game?
Well, it's like sort of siloed off, right? So we're very out, but a lot of people, you'll never know their real name. So like there's a kinky space, and when you're in that space, what happens there stays there. And you sort of like do this sort of like vetting and referencing within that world so that you're not like tainting their vanilla life.
Oh.
Right, yeah. It's not like you're going to call their mom and say like, do you think he's good at rope? Like, but you might, if you see him, hanging out at a party and you've seen him doing rope with other people, you might you might pull one of those rope bunnies. That's what another thing we call people who like to get tied up. We call them rope bunnies.
Rope bunnies.
Like some
Okay.
vocabulary. You might pull a rope bunny aside and be like, "Did you have a good experience? Did you feel safe? Did you feel like you communicated well?" So you can always check references, and you can also
How do you know what? I mean, there's within the community, right? Let's say I want to come into the community, and I want to be tied up,
Mhm.
and I don't know a thing about it. Not you, right?
Right.
You're my in.
Okay.
But let's say
Yes.
somebody who doesn't know like, how do you know? Are there? You said there's a dungeon. Like, how are there spaces? How do you find somebody in the world?
So usually your first step is going to be to get on FetLife, which is our version of Facebook.
Somebody mentioned my friend last night mentioned FetLife. Yes.
Now you know what that
FetLife,
is. Yes. You can go on there and make a profile. And
FET.
FETLIFE.com.
FetLife.com. Okay.
And that's where people will post events. And so often if people are nervous, I say like munches are often a good first event because it'll be at a restaurant.
Yes.
It'll just be a bunch of nerds hanging out and talking. Sometimes if you have a dungeon in your area, often they'll host 101 nights. Sometimes people will like host 101 classes that are meant to be like your introduction to the scene. I have a partner who used to teach those like once a month. Everyone who was new to the scene would just come and have a little class from her where she would talk about like here's some good events and here's good etiquette.
Yeah.
So you can look for 101 events, or sometimes dungeons will have like exploratoriums where they'll have like stations where you can go and they'll have someone who can do like who can just let you experiment with like a minute of like what does it feel like to be whipped, or like, and then you'll go over here and this person will like hit you with a toy and you can experience what that's like. So they're like, those are often like very easy beginner friendly events. But the biggest thing is going to events, being nice to people and being friendly. Like it's a very, very friendly community. It's very queer and very neurodivergent and very like welcoming of all different types of people.
So inclusive. Probably one of the most inclusive spaces I've been in.
Yes. So like if you feel new and lost, know that that's normal. When I was new to the scene, my like icebreaker conversation question was like, well, what do you wish you'd known when you first came into the scene? And people love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about their interests. They love to talk about what they've learned. So people were always happy to say like, oh, I wish I knew that. One person said, I wish I knew how friendly everyone was. One person told me, I wish I knew that if someone asks you to play with them, you don't have to say yes or no right away. You can wait and you can think about it.
Yeah, a lot of negotiations happen over FetLife's messaging system.
Okay.
So you might meet someone, you might ask them when you meet them, like, hey, can I friend you on Fet? And then maybe...
Fet.
Yeah.
What does Fet stand for?
Fetish.
Like, fetish. Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
And then you might message them like later that night. So there's not the pressure.
Right.
Because some people feel compelled to say yes even when they're not sure. But so I think it's really nice if someone sort of deliberately asks them outside of that context. Like, hey, it was lovely meeting you. I'm looking for play partners. If that's something you're interested in, can we start negotiating? And then sometimes those negotiations happen like in messaging first, and then maybe you meet up and then have like some more negotiation after that. But there's lots of different ways to do it. And I think one general principle is to do it in the community. To not necessarily just wing it on your own. I'm not saying people haven't successfully explored BDSM and kink just with their partner in like bedroom only play. But just speaking anecdotally from my experience, I've really appreciated the wisdom of the crowd.
Okay. Last questions before we wrap. First of all, thank you again. This has been an education and a lovely thing to sort of dive into. When I have you back, one of the things I want to talk about is slave play as a part of the BDSM community.
Oh, that's a heavy topic too. That's a heavy topic.
Who are in the BDSM community, And then there are people who look like me who see the people in the BDSM community and feel some type of way about it because of things. And that was something we don't have time to get into.
Yeah.
Ooh, to be.
I was going to say, like, I have to pee and there's no way I can opine on that intelligently. Like, it would take too long.
All right, so as we wrap, the last thing that I will ask about and say to the both of you is first of all, thank you, but also I want to give you both an opportunity to tell us about your shows, tell us about things that you're going to be working on coming forward, and anything else you might want to share before we wrap. I know you want to pee.
I do.
That's right. But first,
and not as a fetish, just because you.
No.
have to pee.
For a stand-up comedian, I think this is good. I think it's really funny that this is an ordeal now. So Lily, let's go.
Okay. So if you ever want to come see our shows, we announce them on Instagram, Lily Kerrigan Presents. We also announce them on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok, if you find us any of those places. If we're not coming to your city, but you want us to, I have a form in my bio on Instagram where you can request me to come to your city, because we're happy to go wherever there's a community of people who want to come see us. We love performing for other kinksters and other non-monogamous people. That's super fun. But we also love performing for a vanilla crowd that's ready to learn and open-minded.
Yeah. And not all of our material is about kink and non-monogamous.
There needs to be. Listen,
Some of it is. A lot of it
A lot of it is. A lot of it is. But if you want a vanilla show, we have clean material too.
Yes, we do.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you. I was gonna say was Matthew Kerrigan and Lily Marcus, but no, it is actually Matthew Marcus and Lily Kerrigan for your time, for your dedication, for your I don't know, whatever. For just literally sitting with me and letting me talk with you.
This
This
was
was
much
so
fun.
fun. Thank you so much for having
You
us.
are actually, as a matter of fact, you are my dear. I'm gonna hug you tightly.
Yes,
You are my
tightly.
dear friend.
Yes.
Can I get
Yes,
that? Come on in.
yes. Oh yeah. Nice.
This is how we want to be touched.
Yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Firm.
This has been another episode of So Here's the Thing, and with that, we will wrap. I'll see you soon. Bye.